Oh, what's going on YouTube? My name is Legendary Lee, and today it's top 10 Pokemon time.
Oh, I'm unbeatable.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we are with a new direction on the channel. As a lot of you know, my most recent video on the channel was discussing how I am going to be done with the Pokemon trading card game for a while, and so this is a video that I've been meaning to make for literal years. I think this is like the second video I've ever posted on this channel was my top 10 favorite Pokemon back in 2016. It has been 9 years since I've updated that list, and 3 new generations have released since then. So it is something that definitely needs to be updated. So we are going to update it today. And while we're on the topic of that last video, I just wanted to give a thanks to everybody that showed their support in that video. That video, as of now, has got like over 3,500 views, which for me, and it's not that in general that's not a lot of views, but for me it was someone less than 6,000 subscribers. That's a really big deal. I was expecting the video to get like 100 views or so because people just don't care. But tons of people that have never seen the channel before leaving reassuring comments and you know, just letting their feelings be known. So I just wanted to thank all you new guys out there that have subscribed. Appreciate you as well. We've gained like 30 new subscribers since that video, which is absolutely crazy. So I wanted to thank you all, and yeah, let's go ahead and get into this top 10 Pokemon list. So as we do get into this top 10 list, another thing I wanted to say is that I will be showcasing actually my favorite card artwork of all time for each one of my top 10 Pokemon. So we kind of get a little bit of segue from the Pokemon trading card game content. We still have a little bit here as we move into a new direction on this channel, but some of these arts are just too crazy to not appreciate, and I wanted to just share with you guys some of my favorite artworks in the entire Pokemon TCG as well. Starting off our list at number 10, this one holds a very special place in my heart. It was at my actual first favorite Pokemon ever, and that is Hitmonlee, straight out of Generation 1. This Pokemon, it's not one I use a lot in games or really think about much anymore, but I think it still deserves a spot on this list because I remember as a kid, this Pokemon was my absolute favorite Pokemon. Seeing him in the fighting episode of the anime, I think, was what really made me like him. And yeah, it's also got my name in the Pokemon name, so you know, as an 8-year-old kid, you're gonna be like, oh, that's got part of my name in it too? Sweet, I like this guy. And he looks cool and he kicks stuff. It's super dope. So unfortunately in the TCG, Hitmonlee doesn't actually get a whole lot of love. Because of that, there's just not a ton of cards of this Pokemon. No crazy artworks that have really ever been made of this. And I don't think it would matter anyways, because I think my favorite artwork of this specific Pokemon, number 10 on our list, Hitmonlee, is straight out of Fossil. That Fossil Holo Rare. You can't go wrong with some of the OGs, and so number 10 on the list, Hitmonlee. Favorite card of all time of this specific Pokemon is the Fossil Holo. All right, coming into number 9 on the list, we have one of the great new additions recently, not in Gen 9, Gen 8. It is Centiskorch. I mean, what is there not to love about a flaming centipede? He's got a VMAX, or not a VMAX, a Gigantamax form, where he just turns into this huge, absolutely like mile-long freaking centipede. So sick. I used Centiskorch for almost the entirety of my Pokemon Sword playthrough. He looks really cool. I love the fire mustache and like, you know, thing he has going on his face. I don't know. I just like menacing looking Pokemon, as you'll see as we get into this list. And Centiskorch surely fits that bill. So as we get in to talk about the favorite card art of this, saying it's a Gen 8 Pokemon, we only have cards of this Pokemon from Gen 8 and Gen 9, which there are some actually really cool cards already of this Pokemon. And my favorite artwork of this is going to be the Centiskorch V from the Trainer Gallery in Lost Origin. You've got Kabu there, his trainer in the background, letting him go at it. I think there's another version of like an alternate art type of card of this, but this one is my absolute favorite. I liked facing Kabu in that game, and yeah, Centiskorch, he's just sick, man. Coming up at number 8 on our list, another bug-type Pokemon. Believe it or not, I think Game Freak and Pokemon have really hit it out of the park knocked it out of the park with bug designs here of recently, and that is going to be Golisopod, straight out of the Alola region. Yeah, so like I said before, Golisopod really fits the bill of that just menacing, really powerful looking Pokemon. He looks just so cool. His shiny is also another thing that I think is really sick. I remember trying to, there's a special way you have to catch a Wimpod, which evolves into Golisopod in Pokemon Sun. And you have to like, there's like this little like area where the Wimpod are in like the overworld, and you have to, every time you try to approach them, they would like run into like a little hole or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it is. So you had to figure out that you had to like ride your bike from really far away really fast and come in really quick and like to encounter one. So it was really cool having to figure out how to even catch one in my first encounter with a Wimpod. But Golisopod, another fun fact about Golisopod in Pokemon Sword. I've done a lot of Masuda method shiny hunting in my days, you know, throughout the years. This Pokemon took the least amount of time for me to get a shiny in that method. And I think it was like my 27th egg or something, trying to get a shiny Golisopod, and I got one. So he's actually still just chilling on Pokemon Sword, but just thought it was really cool that, you know, usually it takes hundreds of eggs and only 27 for a good old Golisopod. So speaking of or getting into the favorite card art for Golisopod, we've got the Paradox Rift illustration rare. It's just, I mean, look at it, man. This one is so sick. It's not one I have. I should tell you about the ones I have. Fortunately, I don't have the Fossil Hitmonlee, and I actually don't have the Lost Origin Centiskorch. So there are some as we get up further onto this list that I do have, but another one I don't have actually is the Golisopod from Paradox Rift. But this card is just so sick. He's just chilling underwater in a shipwreck. I mean, this art, man, it's so sick. All right, coming in at number 7, I feel like this one is the first real, just like kind of basic bitch type of pick as a top Pokemon, and it's gonna be Umbreon. Umbreon to me is the best evolution. It's my favorite evolution. It has a top 3 probably shiny out of any Pokemon in the entire existence of the games. I've always loved Umbreon since Gen 2. I remember it being such a menace fighting in Gen 4 against Karen. Her Umbreon was a literal tank. And I think it was actually after that is when I really got a real, I've always kind of liked Umbreon, but a real love for Umbreon after that game, realizing just how good he can be, or it can be, in the games. So, yeah, always loved Umbreon. A few years ago, I did a pumpkin jack-o'-lantern carving of Umbreon. It's just one of those that, you know, you always kind of liked, and I feel like a lot of people love Umbreon, you know, especially in this new market we are with Moonbreon and Sunbreon and all these things. But Umbreon truly is one of my favorites, and we're gonna go to a card that I think maybe a lot of people haven't seen before as my favorite artwork. You know, it's really simple to go with the Moonbreon, which I think is a cool card. I would never buy this card though. You know, if I pulled it and I graded it, I would probably keep it for quite some time because it is a cool card. It's not something I would pay $1,500 for. So my favorite artwork though of Umbreon is an XY96 promo from the XY era. It's just a standard, you know, half sized, I don't know, half pictured card. It's not like a full art card or anything. And it's just Umbreon standing in like a clearing of a forest, looking back towards like the viewer. I don't know, something about it kind of reminds me of like Bambi, but I don't know, I just love it. It just feels so like serene and calm, and also unfortunately not a card that I have, but it's always one that I've liked and admired just from afar. All right, moving on to number 6 on the list. We're getting back into that kind of menacing and overbearing looking type Pokemon, and it's gonna be Hydreigon. Hydreigon is a super fun Pokemon to use in the games. It's really hard to get. It's like level, I think it may not be now, but at one time I believe it was the highest evolution Pokemon at 64. You had to get your Zweilous to level 64 before you could even get Hydreigon. Loved using him in the games. He's super strong. I love that the German aspect of the different heads and each of the evolution lines, the numbers, the German numbers, and 1, 2, 3. He's just something I always thought was cool. He's got the little dragon heads as hands. Just a really sick, menacing Pokemon. Dark Dragon is not something do we have another Dark Dragon? Do we have another Dark Dragon? I don't know if we do. Let me know in the comments down below. I'm blanking right now, but Dark Dragon, cool combination of typings. And in terms of card arts, this one hasn't seen a lot of love either, really. We got some recently in Surging Sparks, but I just don't really care for the artwork in that of this card in that set. So my favorite artwork of Hydreigon is actually the Hydreigon C from the Celebrations promo box. I do have this card. It's in my binder. I should have started this. I have a binder with each page, like each fold of like open spread has my top 10 Pokemon. So there's a page for Hitmonlee, there's a Centiskorch page, a Golisopod page, and so I do have that card. Don't have it graded because the one I have, unfortunately, was not good enough to grade. But man, this one is just like, there's not a whole lot of different Hydreigon cards, but this one, the artwork where he's kind of like attacking out of the picture, looks really cool. And of course, you know, you've got the what's her name, Iris, little like head in the side, and the Pikachu 25th anniversary logo there as well. Really interesting card. So that's it for number 6. All right, we're at the top 5 now, and I think this is where you're going to tell, you're really going to start to tell what generation I started Pokemon in. And so starting at number 5, we have Houndoom. Houndoom, man, I just remember playing Pokemon Silver as an 8-year-old. Pokemon Gold. I played Soul Silver. I played Gold originally. Pokemon Gold as an 8-year-old. Seeing a Houndour for the first time, thought it was a cool little dog Pokemon, and then evolving it into Houndoom. Yeah, I think 2001, I think is when this game came out. 2000, 2001, somewhere in there. Internet wasn't really a thing of like, oh, what is this Pokemon going to turn into, or where can I find this Pokemon? You had to rely on like what was in the Pokedex, or maybe you had like a game guide or something. But getting it and evolving it into Houndoom as a kid was like an achievement, man. Seeing this cool looking dark fire type Hellhound. You know, he just, again, a menacing type looking Pokemon. That's just the thing I like. I don't know. It just is. In terms of my favorite artwork, this has always been my favorite artwork. It probably always will be. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of this. It's a pretty expensive card. It is the Hollow Houndoom from Aquapolis, where he's standing up on the rock, all 4 paws, kind of with an arch back. This is just, a lot of you know this card. It's really iconic, and maybe one day add it to the collection. But right now, let's move on to number 4. All right, number 4 on our list is going to be Groudon. As we move further into this list, you'll see sort of a recurring theme that I like Pokemon that somewhat resemble Godzilla, right? It's kind of like a towering beast type thing with the bipedal with the 2 arms. It's kind of got the big jaw. It's somewhat similar to Godzilla, right? I remember Pokemon Ruby being announced, seeing commercials for it on TV, seeing the Kyogre and the Groudon, and just thinking, holy shit, that is just a cool looking red T-Rex Godzilla looking legendary box art, and I am certainly going to be getting that one. Ended up actually in that generation. I got Ruby, I got Sapphire, I got Emerald. I played and beat all 3 of those games because it really is probably one of the better generations of Pokemon. But Groudon is always a Pokemon I've loved to play the games with. When you got the primal versions were introduced in Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, just made them even better. And he was just a real powerhouse. I have one in my Pokemon bank that I've had for, I think, since the Omega Ruby games. Just a dope Pokemon. In terms of the card art, we've got a few selections here that could have made it, but I think the runaway for me is the Double Crisis artwork. The Team Magma Groudon, you've got Team Magma. A couple different other Pokemon on the picture with it, but it's just like, it's one of 2 halves where we have like the Team Magma and the Team Aqua, and you've got the Team Aqua card that's facing like the other way, and it's like they're about to battle. It's just really cool. I love the way the Groudon looks in it. There's the Gold Star Groudon is probably a close second. That one's a really cool the way he's posed and everything, but really Double Crisis Groudon. That's got to be my favorite artwork of Groudon. All right, number 3 on the list is sticking with that Godzilla-ish theme, and it is Tyranitar. This is another one, seeing for the first time in Pokemon Gold as a kid. You catch a Larvitar, you evolve it into Pupitar, you're like, where is this going? This kind of looks dumb. And you get into Tyranitar, and you're like, holy crap. This is the best thing I've ever seen. And so you go through all of, after you beat the Johto region, you go through all of Kanto, and I'm just wrecking people with my Tyranitar, face red. Wreck him as well. Tyranitar, I love the look of it. It really is the most similar thing to like Godzilla, and I just love Godzilla. I've always loved like kaiju and like big monsters like that. And so Godzilla has always had a special place in my heart. Unfortunately, it's super weak to fighting with the Dark Rock double typing, so it's a 4x weakness. Whenever you're in battle, it can be easily knocked out. So there's that, but that won't take away from just my love for this Pokemon, its design. The Mega is actually pretty cool. I didn't talk about Mega Houndoom actually, but Mega Houndoom's okay. Mega Tyranitar, a little bit better, but I think they could have both been done better in general. And as we get into talking about my favorite card art for this one, it's got to be Aquapolis, right? That just like it's like a Tyranitar walking through like a forest with the night sky, lightning, rain coming down. Unfortunately, I do not have this card. Same with the Double Crisis one. I don't know if I mentioned that or not, but the Double Crisis Groudon, I don't have that one either. But I do have the Japanese version of this card. So it's the same artwork, it's just in Japanese. So it's pretty close. I got it at Collecticon actually last year. Saw it and it was something I couldn't pass up because I just love this card so much. So there we go, Tyranitar at the number 3 spot. All right, coming in as the runner-up on my top 10 Pokemon list. I believe these top 5 have not changed since I did this last in 2016. There has certainly been movement in the bottom half. But my top 5, I think they just kind of hold strong and steady. It would be hard to displace one of these top 5 Pokemon just because my experience with them growing up and pretty much for most of my life with these Pokemon. But number 2, we'll get to it. My favorite legendary Pokemon of all time, and that is Lugia. I think a couple things play into Lugia being my favorite legendary and just my second favorite Pokemon in general. Number 1, it's got to probably be Pokemon the movie 2000. It's my favorite Pokemon movie. Yeah, Mewtwo Strikes Back or whatever the first one. Pokemon the first movie is really good. But Pokemon the movie 2000, seeing Lugia in that movie, it was just really sick, right? I think another important aspect as to why I love Lugia so much is because in Pokemon Gold and in Pokemon Silver, you could get both legendaries after you got to a certain point in the game. So even though I played Pokemon Gold as a kid, I did go back and get Lugia from the Whirlpool Islands, something like that, where it's, there's a bunch of whirlpools and stuff. And so that whole journey of going in and getting a Lugia later on in the game was really cool. I loved the way he looked. Kind of don't make a whole lot of sense with his typing being psychic and flying, even though he kind of like lives under the water. It is what it is, but Lugia always been one of my favorites. For the early years of this channel was sort of like the mascot of this channel, but since changed to the the legendary logo we have now. In terms of the my favorite card art of Lugia, it's got to be the Lugia V from Silver Tempest, not the V Max, the Lugia V, where he's kind of just like coming up out of the water. There's something about this that just really shows the strength and power of this Pokemon, just rising out of the water like it's nothing. Don't get me wrong, the VMAX is cool, but I've never been a fan of the cards where it's like the back of the Pokemon, sort of like the Shining Charizard from Neo Destiny. I've never been a real fan of those, even though that one is cool and I wish I had it. The Lugia V is, in my opinion, just a cooler art, even though it's a lesser, it's not as hard of a pull as the VMAX. It still is a really cool card. And honestly, there's no excuse I don't have this one. It's a pretty affordable card, even in the PSA 10. I haven't looked recently, but I know it is just because it's not the VMAX version of this card. But yeah, definitely a card I should probably add soon, right? Yeah, probably should. So as we get into number 1 on my top 10 Pokemon, those of you that have been around this channel or know anything about me, you know that this is my favorite Pokemon, and it will probably always will be. There's no changing, I think, my mind at this point in life. It's just not going to happen. You just can't replace the memories I've had with this Pokemon specifically. And that is Feraligatr. So as you can see from my top 5, 4 out of my top 5 favorite Pokemon are from Generation 2, which of course is where I started. I was a little bit younger when Generation 1 came out. So I was 8 years old when Generation 2 came out. So that was kind of like the perfect time for me to get my first Game Boy Color, play Pokemon Gold. I think it was a few years before, and I was just a little bit too young to play Generation 1. So playing Generation 2, you know, you crank up the game for the first time, you see the 3 starters. I was really tempted to pick pick Cyndaquil because, you know, at the time, you don't know what they turn into, right? You're just a kid. There's no real internet going on in 2001. You just kind of pick what you think it might look like. You see a little tiny gator Pokemon, he looks funny, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to pick him. So Totodile was my first ever Pokemon I ever had playing in any type of Pokemon game. And that Totodile, he rode with me until he was Crocodile, and then he rode with me until he was Feraligatr, and then we wreaked havoc on all of Johto and Kanto in that game. And just the memories of playing that on Christmas Day when I got my Pokemon Gold, my Game Boy Color, my lime green Game Boy Color for the first time. It's just memories that'll never be able to be replaced, and Feraligatr will for always will have that #1 spot for me. Now, in terms of my favorite artwork for this card, this is not only my favorite artwork for this card, for this Pokemon, this is my favorite artwork of any card ever released in Pokemon history, regardless of what Pokemon is. And that is the Expedition Feraligatr, right? The art on this is just unmatched. So I actually have 2 versions of it. I have the PSA 10 non-holo, and I have a PSA 8 of the holo, where he's just, you know, the camera, like, you know, the viewpoint of the viewer, where it's like half underwater, and you see the bottom half where he's underwater, and his head that's above water, and he's in a swamp. You just can't beat this one, man. And a cool story. So I bought this one off of eBay, just so I could have the artwork, and then Collecticon 2024 in Orlando, I was there shopping around, you know, and a lot of you know the Bulbasaur, you know, great channel. And so I waited in line to see if he had any Feraligatr cards, right? And I just wanted a Feraligatr card, just because I could say I bought one from him. You know, he's a cool guy. Did not expect him to have my favorite card ever. It is a PSA 8, that's whatever, it's fine. So it's something that's just really cool. Something I'll probably always have is this PSA 8 Expedition Feraligatr. And what's funny about it is, like 30 minutes before I got there, he actually had the PSA 9, but somebody else bought it before I could get to it. So fun fact there, I will one day have the PSA 10 of this card. It's just my favorite card of all time. There's no reason not to. I think it's about $1,500. But I think that might be something that is worth it for, you know, just something that is my favorite card art of all time and my favorite Pokemon of all time. So kind of makes sense. So that is going to wrap up today's video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's been something I've been meaning to do for literal years. I've talked about it so many times when opening cards over on the desk that I need to do my updated top 10 Pokemon. So here we are finally 9 years later after the original list I did. Not much has changed in the top half, but you know what? Tons of new viewers here, tons of people that don't know a whole lot about me. So there we go. I think it's a great way to start off, you know, the new direction I'm going with the channel, with mainly focusing on, you know, just Pokemon in general. And you know, as you can see, we've had some card stuff sprinkled in, but it's more on, you know, what artworks I appreciated and not, you know, the other stuff that was bothering me I talked about in my last video. So that's going to do it. I hope you did enjoy it. Let me know if you have any comments or suggestions in the comments down below. I already have some ideas on what kind of videos I'm going to do next. I think the next video you'll see on the channel is actually going to be another card opening. It is not Pokemon. It is a new trading card game called Fabled Sagas. I actually recorded it like 2 weeks ago, and I just haven't uploaded it yet. But cool artwork on that one. And so you'll probably see that next before we get any more new Pokemon stuff. But trust me, I've got some great ideas, and I think you're going to like it. So that's going to wrap it up. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, smash the like rating down below. Don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, stay legendary.